What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 100 Fantasy Football channel. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Ivan Herrera, and the mission and purpose of this channel is to put you in the best position possible to be successful in fantasy football. And look, if you are returning, I would love if you please send a like button or just press on that like button. It really helps with the algorithm. And also, if you are brand new, I would encourage you to consider subscribing. We go over a lot of fun things here, like as far as news. I give you a lot of tips and strategies, so be sure to do that. And today's live stream is special. It's Saturday and there's a lot going on in the week of fantasy football, and I want to cover a lot of different things. So here's the breakdown of what you can expect from today's live stream. And as you're tuning in, please let me know where you are watching from. I would love to know where the audience is tuning in from. So really quick, here's what we're going to be going over. So the first thing we're going to be going over is news. There are some things coming out of Dallas that I would love to share concerning Dak Prescott. There's also some things coming out of Los Angeles with Darrell Henderson. And of course, the main thing that we're going to be discussing today is rookies and how to approach them in fantasy football. And we're going to be going over two specific positions, and that's wide receiver and running backs. And then lastly, as we conclude, I'm going to share with you how you can get my free rankings for 2021. And it's a great resource as we're getting ready for draft season to get underway. So with that, let's go ahead and kick off an exciting segment that we haven't had in a while. And that is cap or no cap, but we're going to be doing that later on. So for now, let's get into the news. So we are going to go to see what is going on in Dallas. So let's go ahead and go to my main stream here so you can see the news. So here we go. I'm going to click on that opening video one more time so we can then discuss about what is going on in Dallas. All right, so as we all know, Dak Prescott had a severe season-ending. Oh, I don't know why I can't say that. So as we know, last season, Dak Prescott had a absolutely terrible injury to end his season last year. And the good news is Dak Prescott has shown some great signs in his recovery. There was a little bit of a setback with some muscle strains that he had in his throwing arm, but here is the latest that we are getting out of Dallas, and that is coming out from ESPN staff writer Todd Archer, that says that the second MRI on Dak Prescott's right latissimus strain showed what the Dallas Cowboys expected, and their quarterback is healing well. So thankfully, we haven't had too many reports of the ankle injury that he had last year. And for those of you that watched it's not a really pleasant scene, but the good news is he's recovered. He's doing well. If you're watching HBO's Hard Knocks, apparently he had 2 surgeries to repair that ankle. And currently, as we see Dak Prescott, as we're getting ready for these drafts to go underway in fantasy football, his ADP right now is going as a top 5 quarterback, and rightfully so. Last season, he was on a record-breaking pace, and that offense in Dallas was clicking on all cylinders, considering that the defense is relatively weak. But the good news is he has upgrades at weapons, and what I mean by upgrades is that CeeDee Lamb has another year under his belt, and there's so much hype around him right now, and that is going to be combined with that already with Amari Cooper, and you're hearing a lot of things about Ezekiel Elliott putting himself in what they say is the best shape as possible. And actually, that was one of the cap or no caps that we had a few weeks ago, was that Dak Prescott was saying that Ezekiel Elliott was in the best shape of his life. So right now, things are looking up for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's my thing. Dak Prescott right now, just like I said, I personally don't go for quarterbacks too high, but if he falls anywhere between that 6th to 7th round range, I by all means would recommend that you jump on that, considering that I feel like Dak Prescott brings so much value and that offense is loaded with weapons. And we saw them do really well last season with him healthy. So for me, I think that Dak Prescott is a slam dunk if he is there at that 6th or 7th round range. But currently right now he's going as a top 5 quarterback, which is fitting because he is a top 5 quarterback talent. So with that, let's go ahead and go to the next piece of news here. And what we have is that Darrell Henderson, and this is coming out of Los Angeles. Let me pull this up really quick. Jeremy Fowler out of ESPN shares that the Rams appear all in on Darrell Henderson as the lead running back. And it's no surprise there after the very disappointing news about Cam Akers. It was no surprise that when Cam Akers got hurt, the reins were going to go completely to Darrell Henderson, and you're seeing that now reflecting in ADP right now. Now, one thing I shared actually during the last live stream was that I'm concerned about Darrell Henderson's size. He's only 5'8", weighs a little bit over 200 pounds, and the same concerns I had about Arizona Cardinals running back Chase Edmonds is the same thing I'm applying with Darrell Henderson. And though the load's going to go completely to him, and the Rams haven't made many changes in free agency to add to that running back room, I believe that Darrell Henderson will still be successful. I personally like seeing him as my third option at running back. And again, this is all based on philosophy. I don't really like going out of my draft with Darrell Henderson being my 1 or my 2. So for instance, right now, Darrell Henderson with ADP is going 77th overall. And if you're playing in 12-team formats, that means he's going right in the middle of the 6th round, which I think is fitting. So if you're looking to really add depth and really maximize in your flex position, I would really recommend you going for Darrell Henderson. And again, ADPs may be changing as now drafts are going more and more now that we're in the month of August. So you may see him rise, especially because it's so easy for hype to really affect someone's ADP as far as it going up or down. In this case, this story seems like it's going to increase the hype for Darrell Henderson. I just say calm down for now. It's not the worst thing in the world to draft Darrell Henderson, but be mindful of where he's going and how much it'll cost you to have him on your roster. So now with that, let's go ahead and go back to the breakdown so that you guys know where we're at. And you know what? If you found value out of that news and my insights, why don't you hit that like button? It helps out a lot with the algorithm and helps spread out this video so we can continue to reach more people and to help them in fantasy football. And of course, if you're getting value, I would ask if you could please subscribe, especially if this is your first time here. So now we're going to get into some fun things. My favorite segment is cap or no cap. So we're going to go into that when we analyze the wide receivers that are coming into this rookie class. And with that, let's go ahead and get in there right now with cap or no. All right, so as you guys know, the Philadelphia Eagles invested in their first round pick by getting wide receiver Devonta Smith, and I was ecstatic when they made that move. And there's a lot of good things coming out of training camp despite Devonta Smith's latest injury that he's dealing with right now. And even though he's currently going through that, I found this pretty cool quote on Twitter that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, so I'm going to do my best to get the pronunciation down. So bear with me here, and it is from Sosa Crimjus, and he says everything is lined up for Devonta Smith to have a monstrous season. Now, as we know, last season the Philadelphia Eagles showed that they were depleted at wide receiver, and I believe that with the addition of Devonta Smith, he essentially is now taking that wide receiver position and being the best wide receiver on that team, and is slated for a great fantasy season. Now, when it comes to analyzing where he is and where he's currently being drafted, I think that this is no cap. I think he does have everything lined up to be the number 1 wide receiver and to have a great season, but all things are going to really depend on how that Philadelphia offense does. The first preseason game, or the one I just saw actually versus the Steelers, that offense really didn't show that they can march down the field, but the thing is, you're banking on is that you're hoping that with the route running of Devonta Smith and with his explosiveness, he can get open to make some plays this upcoming season. So I do hope that all things work out for Devonta Smith, but all things considered, I subscribe to Sosa Crimjus, and again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, but I do believe that Devonta Smith will have a great season. Currently, his ADP is going between that 7th or 8th round range, which isn't too bad. So if you're already loading up on wide receiver, you may want to consider having him, so that way you can see how he does. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get into really quick what the history of rookies has been for wide receivers. So I'm going to quickly quickly play that intro video again so we can get into the next segment, which is the history of rookie wide receivers. All right, so as I said, I wanted to get into this about what the history of wide receivers looks like, and I know that we're fresh out of a season where Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings went completely off, and there's this quote that I found from Matt Connor from Fansided, and he shared, since the year 2000, a rookie wide receiver has crossed the 100-yard mark in only 8 out of the last 19 seasons. Now, this was written last year, and it's not considering the fact that now we're entering the 20th year since 2000. There's been 9 players, being that Justin Jefferson had over 1,400 yards last year as a rookie, and I think that we are going to see some of that with some of the current wide receivers. I mean, it's going to be really hard for us to see that with, like, for example, a JaMarr Chase, and my main concern with JaMarr Chase is that Joe Burrow, and a lot of reports coming out of Cincinnati, is that he's not looking 100% all there. I mean, the kid had a pretty severe knee injury with his ACL tear, and he had a couple other tears as well. But the thing is, there also were reports, because JaMarr Chase took a year off in 2020 to opt out because of COVID, that he was having some hard times creating separation. And for me, as a fantasy owner, or no, rather as a fantasy manager, that concerns me. I want to have the upside of a JaMarr Chase, but the cost currently right now for JaMarr Chase is going between the 4th and 5th rounds. And my personal philosophy when it comes to drafting, rookie wide receivers, I like to look deep, just far deeper into the draft. I don't like it costing me too much, just because if I'm paying a lot, or like a premium price for a wide receiver, I don't think I'm going to want to pay for someone that hasn't proven anything yet in the NFL. So for instance, right now, JaMarr Chase, like I said, he is going in that 5th round. I've seen him even go in the 4th round, which for me is worrisome, being that in that range you can get someone like Tyler Lockett, who's already been proven, who is proven to get a lot of targets. So I would much rather pivot and stick with going for someone proven like that, like a Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, players that you know that can provide some production for you. Whereas with rookies, there's so many question marks on whether or not they can really attain everything that the coaching staff's throwing at them. How are they adjusting to the gameplay of the NFL? And that's where you see a lot of progression from year 1 to year 2. Now with Devonta Smith, the worry for me, of course, is the Philadelphia Eagles and just their offense in general. And I think that I probably would consider going for someone like a Devonta Smith, just because he is going a little bit later to compared to a JaMarr Chase. But I would much rather hedge my bets on rating someone like for example, like Elijah Moore. He's going in those double-digit rounds, and if all things click, I mean, it'll really pan out well. And just to throw in like a little time receipt here. Last season, I had Justin Jefferson after week 1 and week 2 as someone that you should pick up as a waiver wire, because I thought he was gonna have a big season, considering that you saw how explosive he was and how much success he found early on in that Minnesota offense. So I think when it comes to really analyzing rookie wide receivers, tread carefully, just because with rookies, there's so many different factors that can affect how well or maybe how bad they may do. But just keep your eye on them, but make sure that you have enough depth to be able to counter anything that you may need to pivot on. So with that, let's go ahead and go into the next portion of the show, and that is we are going to be going over rookie running backs. So with that, we're going to also go over a quote, and this is someone that I absolutely love to share information on. This is Michael Fabiano from Sports Illustrated. And note too, just as a quick little heads up, everything that I quote, everything that I reference, I'm going to put all the information in the description below, just because I'm big on giving people credit. And there's so many amazing people in the industry of fantasy football that are really progressing this game. So I'm always looking to make sure that they get the credit that they deserve for, just basically educating me. So all the information that I'm sharing, you can find it all below. All the sources are there for you to look over, to read yourself, and form your own opinion. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the next segment, and we are going to kick it off with a second cap or no cap. Okay, so just like I said, this quote comes from Michael Fabiano, and he breaks down the history of rookie running backs and how to analyze them when it comes to fantasy football. And his quote reads, "Since 2010, a total of 17 running backs have been drafted in the first round. 10 of them, which makes 59%, finished in the top 10 in fantasy points as rookies." So the numbers look pretty well for first round running backs that have been drafted and have performed in fantasy football. So the three that I'm going to be focusing on right now are going to be Michael Carter, are going to be Javonte Williams, and Travis Etienne. Three different running backs with three different skill sets. And you know what the thing is, they're all in three different situations. For example, Michael Carter, this is someone that we know that number one out of the gate, week one, is going to be the starter for New York. The question mark there is, it's also the New York Jets. So how well is this offense going to run? I mean, I don't personally think that Tevin Coleman is someone to worry about, being that this is a free agent acquisition that the Jets went to go after, and I'm not worried about him, considering that Michael Carter already has, I think, more talent. There's some injury concerns when it comes to Tevin Coleman, but the main worry is that Michael Carter is on the Jets. But the cool thing about this, though, and this is why I feel more than comfortable having Michael Carter on my roster, is the fact that of his draft price. With everything that I analyze when it comes to fantasy football, especially with rookies, I like to see what is it going to cost me for them to be on my roster. And currently, Michael Carter could be had anywhere between that 9th to 11th round range, and I like that price, especially for someone that is a rookie that has a lot of upside, but you don't have to commit too much to. So if all things don't work out with Michael Carter, if you were to drop him, it wouldn't bite you too much. So something even more interesting is even going with, like, for example, Javonte Williams. What makes his situation interesting is that he has Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is due a lot of money. He's still under contract. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he should be due about $8 million or so. So the worry is that he is still going to be involved in that backfield, and we're hearing some reports about Javonte Williams potentially, or actually showing that he was being used as the number one as a number one running back. So when it comes to Javonte Williams, again, the price range is also very similar to that of Michael Carter. He's going a little bit above where Michael Carter is, and I feel really good about both of these guys so far, as far as having them on my roster. And the one that worries me, and this is the thing, because we also, the one I forgot to mention is going to be Najee Harris, right? But the thing is, I feel that Najee Harris is guaranteed to have a nice workload coming out of the gate for Pittsburgh. And that's the thing, when it comes to looking at these rookies, the main thing is you got to see what's their offensive scheme looking like, what's their opportunities looking like, are they going to be the feature back? And you know what, that's actually what my cap or no cap was going to be. I just realized I didn't present what my cap or no cap was going to be for this segment. So I'm going to go ahead and run that back, and we're going to get into Najee Harris with cap or no. Okay, so here's the thing. Cap or no cap for this segment is Najee Harris someone that you can trust as your running back one? And this one's a little bit scary to say, but I want to say yes, just because we saw in the first two games, he's been completely utilized really well. He's showing right now that in the first game of the season, he had 7 carries for 22 yards. And in the second game, he was involved in that first drive. In that first drive, he played 5 snaps. He had 2 rushes for 10 yards. And he also played, I think, 30 of the 33 snaps that he was involved in. So it's pretty surreal. You're seeing that the Pittsburgh Steelers are committing to Najee Harris. So for me, this is a no cap. And you know what the thing is, we are seeing a lot of volume, and you're seeing the ADP reflect that, being that he's currently going in that second round range. And I believe that, you know what, he's worth it. I think that Najee Harris is showing the skill set. He has the ability to really explode this season. So I say go all in on Najee Harris and feel comfortable with him being your running back one in 2021. Now, let's go ahead and go back really quick because we're talking about Javonte Williams. And with Javonte Williams, the cool thing about what he brings to the table is that he's currently ranked above right now Melvin Gordon. And I should have got the article for this because I thought it was an interesting read. And I actually was listening to it from the Fantasy Footballers. And Mike Wright was talking about how whenever you see a player that's ranked above another, the one that currently is ranked above usually is the one that has a better chance of doing well in that upcoming season. So right now, currently, Javonte Williams is ranked a lot more. Well, not a lot more, but on many platforms, Javonte Williams is ranked higher than Melvin Gordon. And I believe that, you know what, Javonte Williams has that skill set. I'm still a little nervous, but what makes me feel better is his draft price isn't too high. So for, by all means, I do say go ahead and invest in Javonte Williams. So now let's go ahead, and as we wind this thing down, let's go ahead and go into the final rookie running back, and that is Travis Etienne. So with Travis Etienne, there is some things that worry me, and that is James Robinson. I mean, I totally feel, and this is my personal opinion, I feel that Jacksonville really messed this up just because with James Robinson, you basically got a free token, a free agent that you got, an undrafted free agent that absolutely exploded, that did well in this offensive scheme. But I get it. Urban Meyer wanted to get his guy. He wanted to get the guy that Trevor Lawrence was going to be happy with. And of course, Travis Etienne, this isn't a knock on him or his talent, or I'm not saying that he's not going to be good for fantasy, but currently his price is one I'm not too happy with. It's too expensive for my liking. And I don't feel that that's someone that I would see on my roster unless he really drops significantly, being that in that third, fourth round range, there's so many talented wide receivers. And that's usually where I have my radar, right? So when it comes to that like fourth to seventh round, I'm really focusing on wide receivers that can make a difference because it's so deep in that range. And I don't think that I would consider going for him. And you know what, Daniel, you bring up a good point. Someone that I was talking to, and I'm forgetting too, which I feel bad, but Melvin Gordon is in the final year of his contract, and one theory that I was hearing was that Denver is going to run him straight to the ground, and it'd be something like if he got an astronomical like Derrick Henry amount of carries, and then from there Denver just says, okay, hey, well, we have our guy of the future, we're gonna use you like crazy this season. And that's one of the worries too that I have. It wasn't one of my main ones, just because with him being there, I think he's talented, and of course I'm referring to Melvin Gordon. I still think he brings something to the table. I mean, he's currently being paid like a pretty good running back, so that's where I'm a little bit nervous on him. And of course, as we wind this down, going back quickly to Travis Etienne, I think he's talented, but I'm not going to invest in that position. When it comes to the fact that he's going in that second round, third round range, or actually he's going more along like the third or fourth round. So I'm not going to really hedge my bets and go for Travis Etienne at that price. So yeah, with that, I mean, that's basically everything. If you guys have any questions, I always encourage it. It's Saturday. I had a really fun time doing this. And as we wind down, I want to also just say, if you found value out of this, please hit that like button. It would mean the world to me. And also be sure to subscribe. This will help with the algorithm. It'll help spread this over as, oh no, did it cut off?